So Linsky, representing Modern Arnis, and I'm going to be bringing him up now. So this Thursday, I'm going to be having another guest. I will let everybody know that tonight with a flyer there. And then the next week, we have the Habanero Part 1. That's going to be pretty exciting. I'm going to have Vaughn, Marvin, Joe. Be the first time we have multiple guests, so that's going to be exciting. And again, that's going to be next Thursday. Next Tuesday, I will let everybody know what I'm going to have, who I'm going to have on. But it should be a few people, but I'll have more information as far as that goes. But yeah, I'm going to be bringing Brian up now, and we'll get this thing rolling. Hey there. How are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thank you. Well, I want to officially welcome to FMA Discussion, episode 24. Tonight, as you know, we're featuring yours truly. Welcome, and thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me, Dean.
Yeah, oh my God, my pleasure. And again, I want to just thank you for this was wonderful. I've been going through it, and it was very kind of you, by the way, to give this to me. I truly appreciate it.
My pleasure. There's some good history there, and
yeah, thank you. And so, how are you? So, just before we jump in there, how are you and yours? How are you guys faring this dilemma we got going on?
Oh, we don't know what day it is. It's the 47th day of April, but we're good. Everybody's healthy. We don't really have to. Our daughters are kind of essential in their respective roles. One's part-time, but all's healthy. They're being careful, and staying the course.
Health, right? I mean, I keep telling everybody, man, things could be a lot worse.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So, yeah, I mean, the fact that everybody's healthy and all that is that's the most important. You know what I mean? This will eventually get over, hopefully sooner than later. But man, there's so many people out there that just have it so much worse, and just some of the horror stories and just the sadness that unfortunately the news and media and what have you.
Yeah,
so my heart goes out to those people. Yeah.
A local friend of mine said something very interesting. He said, "We're all weathering the same storm right now, but we're not all in the same boat."
Wow, what a great, and I like that. Wow. Yeah, I mean, how true. You know, I mean, you're right. We're all dealing with it, but some people, they might have a lot of leaks in their boat.
Amen.
So, all right. Obviously, the focus is going to be on your journey with, Master Priestess and all that. But, just before we get into that, I have to run something by you. When this all blows over, there's something I wanted to see if you'd be interested in doing. Something you touched upon about getting people together, different arts and all that. So I'll send you a PM after that, but just something I just at least wanted to, remind you of, put in your ear, so to speak. Okay. But I will definitely message you on that. So before we get into the FMA and all that, like what's your main discipline prior to, playing with weapons?
My martial arts started with Kempo at the Middletown School under Sifu Lee.
Okay.
And 6-8 months after I started is when he first encountered Grandmaster Presas.
When you say Lee Lowry?
Lee Lowry, yes.
Okay, I keep hearing that name.
Yep.
Wow, obviously, he sounds like he was a pioneer of sorts.
Well, he was a cornerstone here, not just in Kempo, but also within the Arnis. He became very fast friends with Professor, but I'll leave that until you prompt me. So my initial journey started in Kempo in July of '81, and then we'll just say 6 to 8 months later, he made the connection with Professor Presas. So that's when the Arnis started as well.
Oh, so that was okay. So that, and I'm sorry again. What year was that?
81.
81. Wow. How old were you?
For the record, I started when I was 14.
So at 1481, wow. I mean, what a position to be in. I mean, number one, that year for Connecticut, and number two, at that age to like get exposed to this. I mean,
and
matter of fact, on the record,
who these guys were.
Yeah, I think for the record, you could very well be like the youngest one in Connecticut that started doing this stuff. I don't know of anybody. Not that obviously it could be somebody else, but I've crossed a lot of paths in this, within this community, and I don't know. You might hold that prize. So here you're 14 years old. So your first FMA experience was in fact Modern Arnis?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Okay, so all right, at 14, I mean, like, obviously, how many years were you doing the Kempo before 6 or 7 months you mentioned?
Yeah.
So here it is, you're kicking and punching, doing self-defense movements, and all of a sudden the weapons break out. Now, was he fairly new to this as well, your instructor, when he brought him there?
Yeah, he. And for the sake of this interview, I actually made a phone call yesterday. There's only 1 or 2 people left that are still active.
From the initial group, huh?
Yes. So I spoke with them to get some clarification. I kind of thought I had it right, and I did. But on my end of it, we were all going to go to a tournament. The Middletown school wasn't really big on tournaments, but we went to a couple. And Sifu Lee Lowry at the time said, "Hey, guys, I'm not going to the tournament. I'm going to go to this stick seminar," because there was apparently a history of sticks with Kenpo in years past, which I've since then learned a little more about. But he said, "You know what? I'm going to go to this seminar, have fun at the tournament, and I'll see you when I get back." And that is where the seminar was, and this is what I confirmed. It was in 1981 here in Connecticut. Could have been Hartford, could have been New Haven. And that is where those two met. And then he started bringing in Grandmaster Presas on the regular because they became very, very close friends.
81. Wow. That, I mean, to me, I think the most of us, matter of fact, generally speaking, me and most of my peers that currently in contact, train with all that, 90s, wasn't 81. Yeah. So here it is. I mean, you got 6 months in at 14 years old. You're doing some punching, kicking, self-defense. Like, what was your initial like thought? I mean, here it is. I mean, I'm assuming sticks were the predominant choice, like what you guys were doing.
For the most part, back then, Professor Presas was teaching specifically traditional and classic Modern Arnis. We didn't even have rattan back then. We were using broomsticks. Saw them in half, electrical tape.
No, all right. Oh, so the sticks, besides the Philippines, obviously weren't being like made or sold here. Is that kind of what's? Well,
if they were, we had not yet had them. It took a couple.
You had no, okay. Like if no word, like you didn't have a link to California, perhaps, or something.
No.
Gotcha. Right. Where maybe they probably were being sold, but without internet and yada yada. Right. That makes sense.
It took a couple of years, and boy, what a difference that made.
You know what it is? It's so weird because I'm thinking like, well, what do you mean you have sticks? But then I keep losing sight that it's 81. You're not just going on the internet and just typing in an order. So I got to keep remembering 81.
Even he was starting to do a little more flying on the regular, but there was times in the 70s and somewhere probably around the 80, Professor was taking a bus at times. But eventually,
again, 81 bus.
Yeah. So. But the initial was traditional Arnis, hours and hours of Sinawali and drills. Okay. His training day with us back then was 8 hours, and he had us lined up in rows, and it was not in a bad way, but it was highly regimented, almost militant. He was very firm and formidable. Of course, again, mind you, I'm 14. As the year progressed, he loosened up. I say the grandfather in him came out a little bit.
Okay.
He was still formidable, but in the last 10 years of my time with him leading up to his death, much more personable, easier going, warmer.
With age.
Yeah. But still, you put a stick in his hand and put him on the mat, you might want to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
The first few years, all drills. There was no free flow.
Like I'm trying to envision, like, again, I gotta keep reminding myself in the year and context what we're talking about. But like at 14, I'm just wondering, like, so it must have been strange for you because, like, if you were a little older and you heard about FMA, you could be like, oh, this is kind of special. You know what I mean? But at 14, did you have the wherewithal to realize like how unique what you were doing at the time and the age? I mean, because it would make sense if you didn't. I mean, I'm just curious.
No clue. I knew it was fun. It was something extra. It was more time at the school. I've always been athletic, active in sports, but most of my, 81, 8th grade, high school, most of my time after high school was down at the school training, just having fun.
I mean, it makes sense. Like you're 14 and obviously you're not really understanding like the significance of what's going on and like the trend setting that this would set.
No clue.
As far as the state, let alone, that, so at that time, again, I know you're 14 and you're taking this all in and what have you. Was it, as far as Grandmaster Priest's like outlook, which I think, more and more here, because I gotta be honest with you, the reason why I enjoy these the most is because I don't have a lot of information or historical perspective as far as monarchies and all that. I mean, I can tell you what it is. I know the who's and what have you and all that. This is why I kind of enjoy these more when I'm actually learning something and all that. And Frank touched upon this a little bit, but like, did he have that vision of just getting into the classical systems per se, like the traditional systems, and getting into there? Is that what because that being maybe at that time mostly the population of schools then, was that kind of the mindset?
I think the most accurate thing I can share with you is that his vision was to make, and he's said this out loud, I'm not making up these words, his mind was to make modern Arnis the martial art of the world. And one of the reasons, and there were several, but one of the reasons he left the Philippines to come to the States is because he recognized really the only way he's going to bridge from the Philippines to the world probably wouldn't have been based in the Philippines. It would have been the United States. So getting anytime, anywhere, with anyone, he just did what he had to do to make the connections. I couldn't speak to, was he focusing on particular schools or systems? If I broke out some of my archives, I don't have a lot, but a couple of Black Belt magazine editions. And if you remember, even in the 90s, they list seminars in Black Belt magazine, but they weren't all in one place.
Correct.
Page here, page there. Well, half of the listings were Remy Presas.
I looking back, I could believe that. Yeah, I could totally believe that. That's before the Anstano lineage took off and all that. So I could appreciate that.
Yeah. August 1998. He's in here. He's at least 50% of these listings. I counted one year, 42 weekends of the year he was traveling and teaching.
42 wow.
And within there, at the highlight, at the peak of his activity, he did at least 10 3 to 4 day training camps. Florida, Mass, North Carolina, 1 or 2 in Texas, Illinois. I'm going to miss some. Michigan was a big one. Dan Anderson, Gresham, Oregon. The guy never stopped. He took December and January off every year just to kind of regroup and recoup.
Yeah.
10 months, flat out, anytime, anywhere. And we even tried to say, you're doing a Saturday in Connecticut and a Sunday in Florida. Why don't you pair these things so they're No, it's okay.
Wow. So when did he live in the States at that point? Did
he moved here?
Did he totally just move?
He left the Philippines in 75. He started more or less West Coast.
Here. Oh, okay.
Max Palin helped him get settled in on the West Coast. But over the years, and I can't give you a proper order because he lived West Coast. He lived northeastern Massachusetts. He lived in Florida for a minute, upstate New York with Bob Sullen. Owned a home in the Carolinas. wherever, and then eventually his last, I don't know how many years, he was in Victoria, British Columbia, which is the extreme West End, with Yvette, the mother of his two youngest children. So he was wherever it took, forever, however long.
Just what a bit, when I look back and like the years that you're citing, I'm just saying, what a vision! Like what I mean, the forethought of that. Like I mean, 75 to come move here, and then to have this vision, and not only plan it but orchestrate it, where he is very. I mean, like, and for that time is obviously, obviously goes without saying it. His plan worked.
He knew he was quite a visionary.
Yeah, I know, 100%. So is it fair to say he used America as a stepping stone, and that's kind of what led to Europe and what have you, and all that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Suitcase, and wherever he laid down, a few months here, he gets settled in once in a while, but he constantly kept moving.
Yeah. I mean, he picked the right choice, starting in the States and then let it just kind of fan out. I mean, that was wow. And it sounds like in the beginning, I mean, again, I know it was a long time ago, but the East Coast sounded like that's kind of where stuff started.
Well, no, I would say initially, from what I've learned over the years, the initial start was the spark was West Coast.
Oh, well, okay.
Once he made that connection here, and this might be a good time, I'll tell you, this is what I confirmed for you. The Valley Women's Martial Arts Group was out of Springfield 40 years ago. They've been in East Hampton for many years now, most of those 40. But Wendy Dragonfire was the individual that arranged that fateful first seminar here in Connecticut. That is where...
Who was that again?
Her name is Wendy Dragonfire.
Is she still around?
She moved to the Netherlands several decades ago.
Okay.
That school, Valley Women's, is still running to this day. Very good friends of mine, the lead instructor, many of the black belts, wonderful people. Still stay in touch with them. Once that spark happened, the Northeast started to light up because he would always come to see Sifu Lee. But several other people here. The Massachusetts camp was originally, the camp before that was in New Hampshire with a few different people. Eventually, around 1991, Richard Roy out of Greenfield, Mass. Started running the Mass camp. But there were a handful of us that would bring Professor in for seminars. So the Northeast became a very busy area for him. I don't know how long the West Coast stayed busy, but Texas became another hotspot. The longest running camp of Arnis is the Michigan camp to this day. But while he was alive, that was his biggest summer camp, 4 days at Michigan State University. I think the biggest one he had was 135 people for the weekend. Which is big. Wow. We don't see those numbers these days, but
no, but you're not. But you know what though? But you're not.
I know.
Yeah.
Even after it peaked, while he was still alive, the numbers. Life gets tougher. We had extra money in the 80s and 90s as a society.
No, you look what the dollar could buy as compared to today. Yeah, no, 100%.
But so initially, I would say West Coast is accurate to say, but then Texas became a hotspot, strong following down there. The Northeast, the North Carolina had a camp, Florida had a camp. So that whole eastern half of the country, he started spinning that eastern half of the United States. And yet you had Dan Anderson, another very good friend of mine in Gresham. You had Kelly Warden, also Washington State.
Those two names ring a bell.
Cornerstones out that way. But he really did a lot from the central states to the East Coast. Okay, so kind of work back. Okay. Yeah.
Those camps thing that you mentioned, I honestly didn't realize that he's had those camps going on that early, in his tenure here. And I can tell you, just from the timeline that you're speaking of, he a lot of people capitalized off that idea. So he might, I didn't realize that he went that far back with doing them. More and more I'm finding out, man. Wow.
The first camps were in West Virginia.
West Virginia.
They were a week long, and I was a little young. I didn't go. It doesn't sound like I would have enjoyed it.
What do you mean? How come you didn't go at 14 years old, Brian?
Yeah. Well, I'm sure my parents would have liked to have gotten rid of me for the week, but I was given one rendition of a swimming pool with weeds in it. It was an abandoned summer resort type of thing, sort of. It may not have been fully functional, but you trained outside all day, 8 hours a day. And it was a week, and then that group left, a different group came in, so it was a 2-week stint. But those were allegedly the earliest camps in somewhere in West Virginia.
West Virginia.
Don't ask me how that came to pass.
You know what? I was just thinking, like, of all the states.
Yeah. Must have been.
So we'll leave it at West Virginia. And then I want to take a moment just to just welcome some people that are watching. John, Amok brother, thank you, brother. Chad Bailey, Richard Packman, Andres, Chad Bailey's comments, and John Dorek. Does that sound?
Texas. Yeah, very close friend.
I know you know Chad Bailey.
Chad Bailey.
Okay. All right. Awesome. So, okay, I want to get back to you and just like in what your experience and like what I mean, again, at 14 and all that. So like, when did, I know you were mentioning kind of regiment, you're in lines, you're kind of doing Salawali, a lot of drills and what have you. How long did that, I guess, go into where you saw other stuff, or what, I guess maybe what was the methodology or the syllabus per se?
For the most part, the 80s were mostly traditional and classic. Now, if you can imagine, he would come into town to teach a seminar, but he would spend the week with us, meaning Sifu Lee stay with him. Once he left, Sifu Lee needed some ukis, and that wound up being myself and the late Bob Quinn. We would train with Sifu Lee until Professor returned. So we not only benefited from the seminar, but we also benefited from, although it didn't, I wasn't old enough to put 2 and 2 together. I really was a test dummy for a few years, but that's not a bad thing.
No, absolutely not.
Training time. So it was in somewhere around the early 90s when Professor released what we call the left side. Up until somewhere around the 90s, he was not openly teaching what he called the left to right tappy tappy. Right to right, a little bit of single stick sparring, but it wasn't like point fighting, tournament fighting. It was somewhat organized and structured. There are certain patterns you would follow. But it was when he released the left side in the 90s, it initially flopped the first time. We as a whole, not just any one person, but in general, students couldn't grasp it, and he shut it down. And then he re-released it, but he taught it differently, and that's when it.
Okay.
And that's when people started seeing this whole tappy left versus right type of thing. And Professor, being a southpaw, typically he'd start in his right hand. Yeah, I don't know, maybe build your confidence up, get you thinking you could keep up with him. And then once he switched to the left, just stick a fork in your leg. You're done.
I didn't realize, that's new information. I didn't realize he was a southpaw.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Okay. I've probably seen pictures and it just didn't dawn on me that he was actually holding his left hand. I'm sure it was the case. Because you just assume everybody's, So then, all right. So, like, what was your, you're going through your teens, what have you, like, I guess, what was your first ranking, or when did you, like, I don't know how his levels go or went, and all that. How'd that work out?
Back then, it was white, 2 levels of blue, low and high, 2 levels of green, low and high, and then 4 levels of brown, then 1, 2, 3, and then black.
Okay, so a belt, and then was your, okay, so did it more or less go on kind of like a mixed, as far as like individual performance, time spent, I mean, all the variables inclusive?
It was really, when you're dealing directly with somebody like him, it was literally at his whim. I think my first rank was green. I don't remember which one. And then my next one was second or third brown.
Yeah.
And then black. Black I tested for. The others, it was kind of a, hey, come here, let me see this, let me see this. It really wasn't a test, but
kind of watching you move and what have you.
Yeah. And he was, if you attended, once the camps became popular and common, there would be a testing session at the end of most camps. That became kind of.
I can tell you that. There's a lot of other systems too that got that from him.
But
how
those camps became common, you're just training. And again, I had the fortune of being paired up with Bob Quinn, helping Sifu Lee train. So we had a lot more personal time with Professor Presas.
Oh, okay.
Because seminar's over, I'm there every day after school. We have time together, and I'll tell you a story already about Burger King. But it was very spontaneous with him in terms of underbelt promotions.
Okay.
Only once the camps started did people start kind of getting clued in as to how to get ranked. One of the things that happened, and again, I'm too young to recognize this at the time, but he would come into town. He was a very charismatic individual, very formidable. And he would give a little bit of rank, but he may not necessarily know what their Kempo rank was. So if you're coming up through the ranks in Kempo and say, I don't know, say you're a purple belt, white, yellow, orange, purple. You come in, you do a seminar, he comes back to town 6 months later, you're there again. My God, Dean, you are very good. And he makes you a green belt in Arnis. Well, that's higher than your rank in Kempo.
Yeah.
And I don't know this about you. I think I know you well enough now that this wouldn't be an issue. But all of a sudden, you're like, whoa, I'm kind of somebody. Because
you start strutting around.
No, Sifu Lee said, listen, if he promotes any of you, awesome. But he told the man, he said, listen, you can't come in here and start knighting my people with all these higher ranks, even though they're underbelt. That causes a problem when you leave.
Oh, yeah, I see a lot of divide and conquer there.
Yeah. And we lost a couple of people because of that, but he got it, and they worked it out. But
nice. So there wasn't any undermining and what have you.
Yeah. No, there was never his intention.
Oh no, I 100% see that. Yeah.
It was just it was an unfortunate side effect. So that straightened out. Of course, I don't forget those kinds of things. And maybe it was my 4th or 5th degree in Arnis. At that point, it had surpassed my Kempo rank. So now we're back in 90s. And I think I was in Long Island with Tattoo, Andy Filardo. And he promoted me. I got home and I called Sifu Lee. At the time, he became Professor Lowry in '88 due to his rank in Kempo. I called him. I said, hey, I know one's not supposed to outweigh the other. He started laughing. He said, yeah, Brian, that was for underbelts 15 years ago. He goes, I think we're good here. Congratulations.
I think we're okay now. Yeah.
But in the early years, very spontaneous. Only once the camps started happening on the regular was there structured testing.
So, okay. So, all right. So what? Let's jump into, as time's going on, obviously you're developing a relationship directly with Master Presas. Like, just for the folks who are watching, like, what were some of his, his qualities? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I heard of different things, but like, far as the time, obviously, it sounds like you spent a lot of time with them over the years. Like, what could you say about him? Not so much maybe within the realm of a teacher, but just anything you could think of.
Well, I'll share the King story with you, and you can make your own conclusion from here. Burger King was 3-minute walk from the Middletown School, and Professor liked Burger King. So many a time, Sifu Lee would say, hey, walk with him. You know where it is. Make sure he gets back here. Make sure nobody steals him. So we're walking back one day. Now, again, 14, 15 years old. And we have the soft drinks in the cups. And he keeps offering me his. Have some. Now, I'm not I'm 14. What do you know? I mean, hey, I'm 52 now. What do I know, right?
Yeah.
He says, have some. And I'm like, no, sir, it's okay, sir. I have my own. He asked me like 10 times in the span of 300 yards. No clue. So eventually, 2, 3, 4 days later, whatever, he leaves. First chance I get, I run up to Sifu and I said, Sifu, why did he do that? I had my own in my hand. And he looked away, he looked back, and he laughed. And he looked away when he answered me. He said, yeah, hey, Bri, the People's Power Revolution of the Philippines was 1986. That's when they overthrew Marcos. His country was at war throughout the 80s until 86.
I forgot about that. I keep forgetting.
Asking me to drink his drink to see if it was safe.
Oh my goodness, that paranoia. Oh, no kidding.
Yeah, that didn't go over real well with a 15-year-old.
Oh no, I mean, yeah. I mean, you can't fault yourself.
I just like, what? So 30 years later, I remind Sifu Lee of the story. I said, you remember that time he made me take a drink of his drink to make sure it was safe? He goes, yeah, I am so thankful. He said, I would not know what to tell your mother and father if you got taken out by a bad Burger King.
But how interesting. Just right. I mean, because we can't really appreciate that because our country's been fairly stable. You know what I mean?
Now, right? But
yeah.
Professor, as an individual, forget the martial artist. He could remember everyone's name in the room. One time, he'd come back a year later. My God, Dean, how are you? How is your son? How is
that really resonates with people too. You remember their name.
I remember faces from working in a prison, but name?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Like faces, I'm really good with faces.
Yeah.
Association of names.
He had the ability to make you feel like you had his undivided attention. He had that charisma, which is not something everyone has. Very personable, and like I said, the first 10 years, again, from the perspective of a very young person, very regimented and militant and firm. When that grandfather started coming out, it created an even greater vacuum.
No, yeah, but greater bond. Yeah, right, yeah.
And ultimately, he was in business. He was a one-man operation.
Sure.
He knew how to kind of, in a nice way, set that hook, get you psyched up, get you motivated, and get you to come to the camp or the next camp.
Yeah, sure.
Was moving, like I said, he moved several different places throughout the country, eventually settled in Canada. That had to wear on him, sleeping out of hotels and sleeping on people's couches.
Traveling consecutive weekends like that. That's just
months.
Yeah, literally. I know. Not just 1 month, but months and years. I mean,
I had only 1 year. I traveled at least once a month in the air, flying and teaching. I got down to the end of the year, and that's nothing compared to some of what these other people.
I tell you, I'm going to go to there and teach them. It's all cracked up. Yeah.
You look at somebody like the first name that comes to mind right now is like Ray Dionaldo from FCS.
Yeah.
The Philippines, he's constantly flying.
Yeah, he's over there now, from what I understand.
Yeah, or Hawk. He's all over the place.
Yeah, Hawk too. Yeah, I know.
He's flying that way. I'm flying this way. Martial arts related. Hey, I know you. We had T-shirts on. We talked.
Yeah.
But I look at their schedules, and I just, God bless them. And
no, I know. I don't know if it's just. I think what it is. I think it's either in you or not in you early because you're a practitioner, but it's either in you where you want to constantly on the weekends. You're out going and all that. Yeah, I just, for some people, it's just it's too taxing. You know what I mean?
It was professor had 5 children in the Philippines. Since he came here, he has helped bring all of them over.
Oh, awesome.
His wife refused. Rosemary's still there to this day.
Oh, jeez.
But this was his life. He actually, that book that I sent you is the second release of his first book. And as he told me, he put his house up to get the first book printed. That's how
right. Wow.
Back in the 60s, early 70s, you're probably not talking a lot of money.
No. Oh my God. No. I mean, that's right.
And he leveraged his house to get those books.
Yeah, that's wow.
So very driven, but kind of a single, many years. I think he eventually married Yvette. I don't know. But but had that charisma to be able to come in, make it count, make it happen, get people excited, get them motivated. Didn't have a lot of social time with him because, again, being so young at first.
Sure.
Of course, there were some other stories to be spun as the years went by. Made a late night run to the pharmacy with him one time. Didn't realize why he was so determined to have me drive him, but we left the camp in Mass. He needed some prescriptions, but he waited so long, it was about to close. So he had to get from point A to point B in record time.
Oh,
we must go. So,
and you're the guy.
All right, I got a vehicle, let's go. I'm flying down the highway into Springfield to find this pharmacy. And it turns out, he says, you did very good. He said, I chose you because you have the badge. We not get stopped. So sometimes there was always an angle in there.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
let's
look back in case and laugh. Yeah, right. You look back and laugh at it.
A lot of forward thinking with him.
So, all right. So let's because I mean, I have 3 questions, and I definitely don't want to forget Tim Doherty. Sorry. So I definitely want to get to those, and then we got your demo. So all right. So what point now? What year did you open up your own place?
I haven't. I've never opened my own school.
Oh, okay. So then we're okay. So I stand corrected. Where do you teach out of, or what have you?
I was teaching for quite a while out of the Middletown School.
Again, under Lee. I'm sorry.
Yes, initially, yes.
Okay.
Since Middletown Kempo opened, unfortunately, it is now closed. But over its tenure of 40 years, there were about 7 or 8 other schools that opened, not franchised, but students of Sifu Lee opened their own schools. I've taught at several of those locations. I've taught outside in parks. I teach wherever I can. To this day, there's some Kempo schools that I'm still affiliated with. I teach there as needed. The Connecticut Kempo School is where I'm based out of now with Professor Wayne Tangway and Professor Leanne Brophy.
Okay.
I will teach close to, there's a place not too far from here that I'll teach out of. On occasion, I'll bring in a small group of my most regular students, train them here at the house, in the basement. Still travel and teach, but due to my law enforcement schedule corrections on a rotating schedule, rotating shifts, a school, I guess it's possible, but it would have been very difficult. So I did entertain it, but no, I have never actually owned a school.
Okay. So then, so what year then, when you made black belt, did you actually, regardless of setting, did you actually, make a point to go out there and teach his stuff kind of individually, separate from school, I guess?
Throughout the 90s, I started leaving, traveling a lot more and meeting him at the different camps and seminars. So I started getting used to the travel and the whole camp scene, which was kind of unique to me anyway. Once he passed, one of his standing orders was do not let my art die.
Yeah.
He designated 7 of us as his successors, but ultimately anybody that trained with him was one of his successors. So he died 2001. It was really right around there when I started saying, hey, we have to keep this momentum going.
So I gave you kind of initial
downtime with him passing and the 7 of us getting out there and doing our thing. We kept all the main IMAF camps running.
Yeah.
There was up to 6 of us there at one time. And there were still groups that may not be able to get to a camp, so they could pick any of the IMAF masters and say, hey, would you come teach the seminar?
Sure.
So right around, he passed in August of 2001. That was right around the time I made it a point to not just teach locally, but start getting out there and going. And, while he's alive, he was doing them all. I mean, he would never turn down a seminar. When he was on his deathbed, the last 2 to 3 months, he was sort of bedridden. I went to see him 2 months before he passed. He was still attempting to get seminars going.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think he knew any other way.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's not that I waited till he passed, but while he was alive, we would travel and teach and help him. And we would teach locally, do our own thing. We have local clubs and things. But once he passed, we wanted to keep the momentum going. So that's when we all kind of kicked in, all 7 of us, and just kept going and trying to keep the schedule up as best we could.
Just for the viewers, you mentioned the 7, and who are they?
No particular order. Randy Shea, Texas. Jeff Delaney, Texas. Gabi Roloff, Germany. Ken Smith, Illinois. Chuck Goss, Michigan. And Jim Ladis, Chicago, Illinois. And myself.
Awesome, awesome. And you guys, all right, for keeping the propagation thereof in the States and world and all that, what have you?
We for many years, Jeff kind of broke off on his own right away. The remaining 6 of us stayed together for quite a few years. The short of it, Jim and Randy have retired. They're no longer. Mm-hmm. The remaining 4 of us, Gabi is based out of Germany. She continues to run what's called IMAF Europe.
Okay.
Ken and Chuck still run based out of Michigan, Illinois. And I'm more or less independent now. I'm out of Connecticut still. Have no intentions of leaving. So there's 4 of us still, whether they're camps or seminars, we're still trying to keep it going.
They're still fairly active. Okay.
The interest is still there. Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
No,
Ken owns 1 or 2 schools, so that's his life. Chuck had a school for a while. I don't think he does anymore, but they're all still active. And Gabi has a school I know in Hamburg, and has had one for many years.
Awesome. No, it's nice that you guys, are doing that, keeping it going and what have you, making a proactive effort to, do that. No, that's awesome. I have, because just time here, and I mean, if we don't get through everything, I mean, I'll just have you on again. I do, but I have a question. Mm-hmm. I was looking at your YouTube videos, and there's something I found so fascinating on and I'm going to pull this up now, and I hope the tech gods will allow me to do this. Yes, I think, okay, I'm hoping you're going to be able to see this. One on YouTube, it did a little spying.
Yeah, good morning. Terrence, it's been a couple of weeks
in promotion, by the way.
Light of your promotion, this next little video clip is for you. Nothing too fancy, but we're just playing around today, and we got into some ab and equal counters in the middle of the beginning of the chapter. So nice and easy.
Wet towel.
Now, this can be the.
I find that so fascinating.
Or the wet towel effect, or this can be
David Gould in trapping. Totally referenced wet towel effect. Mm-hmm. And when I heard that from you, I'm like, I have to post this, and I have to immediately ask him about this. Is okay? No, I just wanted to reference here. Okay, is it okay if I turn this off? Are you trying without it?
It's interfering with your voice just a little bit.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping it would. Anyway, but you were able to get the gist of what I was talking about, right? So again, I'm in Mississippi, David Gould, and he's showing me some compare and contrast to FMA trapping and Wing Chun. And he goes, yeah, I take the wet towel effect of my Wing Chun. I'm like, yeah. And basically just being heavy and curling like wet towel. When I heard you said that, I'm like, I need to explore this. So what say you on the wet towel? You're being interrogated.
That's right. I started with Kempo and Arnis. Since then, I've dabbled a little bit. I do not teach Tai Chi. I was exposed to an extremely adept Tai Chi master in Chen style. And although 27 years of tactical training in the prison system. There is a lot of Arnis in Tai Chi, and there is a lot of Tai Chi in Arnis.
Okay.
And what I will do is the demo that I was going to share with you guys. I'm probably running on about 5 or 8 out of 8 cylinders right now. I'm working. I'm a couple of days away from feeling really good with my lower back, but a little bit of stick work, as long as I kind of behave, it'll be fine. But the piece I chose happened to be Amiracle. And what I'll do is I'll probably just answer your question and show you what I mean. I don't know if it's going to be the same wet towel concept that Dave mentioned.
No, you know what it is? I think it was just more just fascinated that I heard that from somebody else. And I was just kidding by interrogation and all that. I just found it really neat.
It was an investigator for 12 years. I'm very used to that kind of environment.
No, and I just thought it was so neat. Like you were referencing that, and I had to find out. But before, I definitely want to get to your demo. Okay. Is it okay if we answer Tim's questions?
Sure.
All right, I got them right here. So, okay, first question from Tim. If you had to boil down everything you teach into 3 main things, what would they be?
Oh. Everything.
No pressure. No.
Wow. No, none. I'll say this. I've told my group that sees me on the regular, you can fit this whole art on one piece of paper. And imagine this, you've been studying now 20, 30 years. Imagine writing down every technique, every disarm, every counter, every drill on a sticky, separate sticky. You're eventually going to cover the entire floor with stickies. There's just so much.
Okay.
Also, as time goes by, you start to realize that is the same as that. That is just a variation of that. You start to stack these stickies. You start to establish the connections. And as time goes by, that whole spread out expanse of stickies winds up getting to be a very, very small area, but it's very deep. So when I started to identify curriculum, moving forward, incorporating all those different disciplines I mentioned, the entire kitchen island is covered. And yet when I got done kind of compartmentalizing and consolidating, there were piles of various heights. Some had 4 or 5 cards in it. Some had 1 or 2. Some had only 1. But you learn through establishing those connections, the art starts to simplify itself.
Okay.
And I would tell my students to this day, you can fit this whole art on 1 sheet of paper, but it's going to be a very thick sheet of paper.
Okay.
They ask me how professors, geez, how big was that guy's toolbox? I said, it was a 5-gallon bucket.
Yeah.
400 feet deep.
Yeah. It's 5 gallons, but
yeah, it's only this big.
The depth is infinite.
Yes. And, you know, he would tell us all the time, it's all the same. It's all the same. I thought he meant within Arnis. There were so many connections to be had. What he actually meant, and it took me years after he passed to understand, come to realize he meant all martial arts are all the same. There's some
that more similar, different, you know, sure.
But, you know, I'll give you a connection if we get to the demo tonight. If we don't, that's okay. We'll do it some other time, but I'll show you a very good connection between the Tai Chi. Well, you already mentioned it, the wet towel one, but you have all these different connections, and that just comes, you know, if you're training and you're paying attention, you're going to learn.
Sure.
You don't necessarily need somebody hand feeding you. It helps at first, but I've already told my students many years, this can fit on 1 piece of paper. It's just a very deep one. So getting to the 3, boy, professor wanted a very well-rounded art. Many, not all, but many FMAs are stick only or knife only, or maybe empty hands such as Kun Tao. Professor was a high-level player in judo and Shotokan as well. Okay. He created a very well-rounded system. You have stick work, single cane, double cane, empty hand, knife, takedowns, joint locks, and our ground fighting is in the nicest way, it's archaic. It's nothing like the grappling that we see today.
Yeah, BJJ or MMA related, right?
Nothing like that. Nothing. Very well-rounded system. So in terms of the 3 big things, to me, the most versatile and practical is empty hand. Your hands are usually with you at all times. Some folks are big on carrying a knife or a gun. That's okay. I'm known to carry 1 or both on occasion, but these are always with me all the time.
That's fact.
If you're in the martial arts, to protect yourself, or you're in that, have that mindset, I have a strong emphasis on empty hand work. In general, whether they're joint locks, takedowns, striking. My Kempo taught me how to strike, but one of the concerns I found for me as an individual was the Uki and Kempo is usually very static. They're not moving, they're not countering. I was in the prison for 27 years. Bad guys move. They move. So empty hand, striking, joint locks, takedowns, pain compliance. I'm a big fan of empty hand.
Okay.
And then the next piece, the big piece for me would be stick work, because the stick work makes your hands better. And I'll give you one example. I will sometimes take my guys and girls that get 2 sticks and they have to do some disarms and some basic moves.
Okay.
But I don't care about the technique. I'm giving them a handicap by making them hold a stick in each hand, because they lose the dexterity of.
I got you.
We cheat when we have a hand empty.
Yeah.
When you have 2 sticks, you lose your grip.
Sure.
You have to use the puño, and you got to work your elbows more because you don't have that dexterity.
Gotcha.
So the first main of the 3 would be empty hand, and then I have a strong emphasis on stick. The last one for me, and it's probably due to my work in corrections, everything from situational awareness, staying in shape. You could be a hell of a stick fighter or a knife fighter. If you don't have any wind or cardio,
if your gas tank is empty,
you ain't gonna.
I don't care how big or that, but if your gas tank is empty,
you're up. And then I've noticed a little bit of overall strength. I've lost a little bit over the years.
Yeah.
A little bit of focused weight training brings it right back. But you get sneakier as you get older. You get a little more efficient, and you make.
If you don't use it, you lose it.
Yeah. So that third piece is kind of diverse. Strength training, cardio, situational awareness, contingencies.
Good stuff.
You go into a restaurant. Where do you sit? You sit with your back to the wall. You sit in the middle of the room.
Absolutely.
Where the exits? No. In this day and age, God forbid, active shooters. Oh my God. My wife is finally, my queen, we've been together 16, 17 years. She's now almost batting 1,000%. Every time we go to sit at a restaurant, she knows which side I want, where to sit in terms of the room. No,
if you don't, the thing is that you hate to be construed as you're being over paranoid, but the bottom line is if you're not even thinking about it,
yeah.
You know what I mean? No, so I'm with you. I dig it.
So then stick, and then this other all-encompassing piece that kind of fills in all the blanks.
Ready for question 2?
I'll try.
Okay. What are your favorite? Oops, let me just hold on. I'm not sure what happened there. Okay, just got to bring it back up. What are your favorite transitions from offense to defense techniques, and do they change, of course, based on I'm trying to get stuff on my computer. Somebody countering.
Can you run that one more time?
So, first part of the question: what are your favorite transitions from offensive to defensive techniques, and do they change based on the opponent countering?
Yes, I'll answer the last part first. They absolutely change. It's case by case.
Sure.
Everything from height to weight, size, age, distancing, environment, the type of floor you're on, concrete, asphalt, dirt, grass, inside, outside. All those things will kind of determine, help me gauge the situation at hand. If you could imagine responding, and again, it's bear with me, we're going into the prison. 2 inmates fighting. Yeah, they're probably not just going to stop.
Yeah.
You're not just going to walk up and say, hey, guys, come on, really?
Gee, man, come on, can you guys stop?
So I would not suggest you walk up casually and start yelling at them. It's probably not going to work. But what I learned is if you immediately rent space in their head instantly, whether it's 2 inmates or you're trying to stop a toddler from putting a screwdriver in an outlet. You have to break their train of thought.
Yeah, gotcha.
So one of the things that we started to play with at work was the preferred ratio is 2 inmates. 2 staff members to 1 inmate when you're about to respond to a fight or really emergency. We hit both inmates at the same time. First thing we do is at least knock them off their feet or at least away, not necessarily down. Down is okay, but we want to take their sense of balance right out of the picture. Blast them both, get them into the wall, to the floor, over a table, completely change their mindset. And if your balance, your physical balance has been manhandled or compromised, you can't help but to say, what the hell is going on? You're not fighting anymore. You're like, what just hit me? What's going on here? So now you've broken that mindset of fighting. By then, we're fused to them, trying to get control of the arms. The difference between corrections and law enforcement is there will always be a train of officers coming in the prison. Yeah. Usually, we can be outnumbered 50 to 1.
Yeah.
A police officer responding via vehicle could be minutes.
Absolutely. Right. Yeah.
In the prison, you will measure the response on foot within seconds. Could be 30, but it's going to be seconds.
Thank God for you guys. Yeah.
Hold on to these guys until the train shows up.
Yeah.
So the first thing, knock them off balance. Stop, break that mental focus that they have on fighting. Obviously, separate them. Fuse, burying the head in the back, the small of the back, and holding on and just waiting until you get extra help there is a really good idea. But then you start to apply that one-on-one. Now you're dealing with an inmate or somebody on the street, anywhere. Again, breaking that cycle. Grandmaster Wally J was a master of distracting. Before he locked onto you, he might tap you on the forearm. He might kick you in the shin. Not
distraction. Yeah.
He wanted to touch you for your brain up here to say, what the heck was that?
Yeah, then all of a sudden, right, I got you.
You got your hand and you're upside down, backwards in a picture. So distraction. There's a couple of different techniques I've been playing with that usually result with a little bit of a slap, but it's close to the actual technique taking off. I'm sure bouncers have figured this out many years ago. You got to get that jump. And
no, you're right. Something to, absolutely.
A nanosecond is a long time if I can get ahead of you. And
oh my gosh, absolutely.
So distractions, positioning. Some of the things that I've learned from a professor was he will turn you in front of him. He's not going to get you 180, but he may get you turned where if you can pin this and drive this back. I got to go.
Okay.
Get this going. He's still standing right in front of you.
Right.
He gets this.
But he's compromising your. I got you.
I've got you. Hit him with the right. Hit him with the left. So small things, but in rapid succession. I don't know if you've ever had a chance to watch Sensei Kevin Dillon, Police Lockup.
No, I'm going to write that. Kevin Dillon.
Dillon.
Okay.
Retired out of Wethersfield PD, still in Wethersfield, lives in Wethersfield. Old hand in Kenpo, put together a police program.
Okay.
Deals with a lot of this, but it all comes down, again, back to that situational awareness. Are you outnumbered? Is he outnumbered? How big is this guy? Yeah. Are these things chafed because they're rubbing on his shoulders because he doesn't have a neck?
Yeah. No, I mean, right. I mean, all that needs to be taken in.
But break that cycle of that initial focus of whatever it might be it you or another inmate or somebody else, a little bit of a physical distraction, and then start fusing. Do you really want to go toe-to-toe from, medium range and throw hands? They might be better than you. They might be faster. I've seen
younger, faster. I mean, hate to say it, sometimes father time is not kind.
I mean, we can all joke and say, hey, I'm 50 something years old. I didn't get this far without being a good fighter. Well, these guys are half my age now.
It is. And that's just, there has to be that sense of just smart, what I call smart reality. You have to just understand, like, you're in your 50s now.
Yeah.
It's just, 100%.
in terms
Are
of
you ready for question 3? Okay. Brian worked in a place where he would have to pull some of his training to real life use, which you already touched upon. What saved injury in those spots? What saved him injury in those spots?
well, not injury free. But I've never had to have surgery, which I'm blessed because that's.
Oh, thank God! Good on you.
Yeah. I do have some long-term scar tissue, but nothing compared to what some of my peers have been through. Again, level of awareness, staying in good shape, paying attention. You could go into work, and a bad day in the prison system is going home with a brown racing stripe in your shorts. That's a bad day.
Yeah.
You go to work and you can feel the electricity in the air because you know something's about to jump off. They got their magazines stuffed around their waist.
Yeah, for those pokes.
And they got their laces tightened up.
Yeah, they're laced up.
So situational awareness, knowing who's with you on shift, who's around, who are your go-to guys. I became a supervisor around 2000. Sometimes I would look at my roster, loved them all, but I just look at the roster sometime and say, "Oh my God!"
Yeah, you know who you can go to war with and who's going to be.
Yeah. And sometimes there's 2 of us, and we're like, "Well, there's 2 of us. We got them surrounded. I hope."
Yeah, I can't even, man. Yeah, because I've heard, just not to hijack this question, but just watching like a couple prison documentaries, and the guards all reference the same thing. Like you just feel it, like something's gonna pop off. You just, whether they're going into their groupings, the yard, a group over here. I mean, just everything you kind of articulated, but it's not like a big secret. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like you go home and you have to stop the door, and it was important. You're gonna have to face the music when she opens that door.
Yeah.
Right? But
no, that's no.
There was no secret formula in terms of staying injury free, staying in shape. Some of it was
being right. I mean, being physically sound to withstand injuries. You know what I mean?
I referenced that fusing, going toe to toe and staying arm's distance from these guys. It's a good way to get knocked out. Or if you're going to get in there and you train long enough, you get in there.
No, negate their movement. Like, you're going to go toe to toe with a jacked up 20-year-old.
The years go by. You got 10 under your belt, 15, 20 years. You get there. There's not enough of you there yet. You just wait before you jump on the pile.
Yeah.
Enough of us. Well, just wait a minute.
Yeah.
When you first
want to go home.
You want to be smart. You jumped in the matter if you were the only one. But in due time, you wisen up and you say, "Hey, you know something? Not yet. Let these guys fight. They'll be tired by the time we jump on them."
Yeah, as long as they're not killing. Yeah. I mean, easy for me to say over here, but I just
play it smart and hope that you've got you got your go-to guys, whether they're your peers or your officers, doesn't matter. Staying in shape, always having a contingency plan. Scenarios. You walk into work, hey, what if this one goes off? What if that one goes off?
Yeah, I mean, at least got to plan and think about it, right? Yeah, anticipate. Like, Wow. No, those were good questions. Good on Tim. All right, if you're still up for it, we're running a little over, but no big deal. If you're still up for it, how are you feeling for a demo?
Good. What I thought I would do is, in an effort to keep me somewhat semi-behaved, I'll just kind of narrate. It happens to be the Amiracle, so we're actually going to go right into that wet towel.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's interesting that you pointed that out. So let me see. Let me move this out of the way.
Sure.
And I'll be able to watch here, I think, so that you can kind of see. Let me see. I got to be over here.
No, perfect. If right there was perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there are many striking styles in Modern Arnis. I'll talk about what's called abanico. There's 4.
Okay.
First one is nothing more than snapping the wrist, corto. That's it. Just wrist. It can be vertical. It can be horizontal. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Next one is largo. It's the snap of the wrist, but it's extended. It's a longer range.
I got you. Okay.
That is what you saw when I mentioned the wet towel. What I'm saying there is, imagine something, whether it's an arm or a stick, it requires you to be relaxed. As this goes out, it speeds up, and then when and then, believe it or not, I start to go back before this thing is fully extended. I start to move the body weight back, and this propels this forward.
I understand. Gotcha. Yeah, you're stepping, and then I got you. Okay.
Bang. And what I meant by that reverse wet towel is obviously the towel is lower. This is coming over the top, but it's that whipping effect with the stick.
Ah, okay.
The third one is what we call hirada. Hirada is going through this way.
Oh, so it starts at abanico, but is it fair to say finishes with a circle? Would that be fair?
It is. It continues through.
Okay, okay.
Abanico is you're hitting with the flat of the side of the stick. Abanico is not hitting with a cut. You're stepping with the side of the stick, so to speak.
Okay.
Okay. Whether it's corto here, or a largo, or just corto, or the hirada. The hirada is very powerful. If somebody's coming with a poke to the belly, or a mid-level strike, we brush past this, we throw a wing block, or we brush this, and there's the hirada. Right through.
And then let it rip.
Yeah. Very powerful. One of my favorite counters.
Ah, neat.
Fourth one is double action. And this one, I chose it because it's one of the most elusive striking styles in the system. Double action means there's 2 hits. So we'll just keep this simple. A forehand strike to here, or a backhand strike to this side here.
Okay.
So the first one comes in, we strike or block and check. We get to the left front pocket. First hit, corto, second hit, corto. Then we return. So start to finish, block check or strike check. 1, 2, and back.
2. And then twirl, and then you're just twirling back? Okay.
This side, we start with hirada. It's here. There's that strike and check. Same thing. 1, 2.
2. Gotcha.
1, 2, and back.
Okay. And then back. Neat. And that's from the, so you're from the open and closed. Okay.
To simplify this, you always start from the left front pocket, whether they're coming in this side or from this side. No matter how you get there, you start from here. There's the first one, second, and return.
Okay.
To use, you got to see the back of your hand in order to start the return. If you're this way, you can't return. You can bend this back, roll it back, because it's the wrong way. You got to hit them one more time.
Gotcha.
What you can do is double up these strikes. We have 1, 2. You can go to the head. 3, 4.
Okay. And then roll back. Okay.
It gets everybody.
Gotcha.
It just doesn't seem to work. But what I've done is I've extended this just a little bit. No matter where the strike comes in, it's here. There's the strike. There's the strike. Now, if I'm the bad guy, that first strike is on the hand. The second strike, the block and check is to the hand or the wrist. The first abanico strike maybe here. Second one here. First one here. Second one maybe here. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
That's the beauty of it. It's not stuck in one dimension. So whether it's wrist and elbow, wrist and head, it returns. The final piece, and this is a very, very aggressive application. One of the most aggressive in the system. And it's not something that I share very often, but I think this is a good place to do it. We execute the drill here. This is back. Then we've only hit the arm or the head once or twice.
Okay.
The shoulder to the hip. We'll throw the hirada again. And then we use the bande, which is side by side. We use the bande to the waist. So after you finished, it's here. Hirada.
Yeah.
Here. But this. Are you familiar with kodagashi? Backward throw.
No.
Many systems use it. If you grab somebody and I'm the bad guy, you're going to be thrown down this way.
Yes. Okay.
Taking the hand and dumping it.
Gotcha.
But if you do this, the feet have a tendency to come up.
Okay. Yes.
because it's a high-speed takedown. As was taught by the professor, many a time, once they took somebody down, and this can be very easily done with the stick, placing it along the arm and holding both ends of the stick, you would pull the stick down, they would go down on their back.
Oh, okay.
As those feet come up, there's that to the ankles.
Oh, that's when you're coming back with your side. Ah, gotcha.
Down.
And you're and gang the feet. Okay, gotcha.
It says if you take out the ankles, they don't get it. They are done.
Yeah, that's not a pleasant area.
Now, in World War II, the Filipino guerrillas, the fighters, would mount steel plates on the instep of their boots.
Interesting.
They get in there, they're fighting, be it with sticks and knives. They've got these low-level oblique kicks with the inside of their boots, and they're cracking knees and ankles on the other guys.
Jeez.
They call them the Bolo battalions.
Yeah, I heard the Bolo battalions. But I never. The first time I ever heard them putting the metal in their ankle areas. That's interesting.
Yeah. Well, they were renowned for their enclosed fighting. They didn't have the weaponry and the firearms.
No.
In the pointed sticks, all the different blades and the knives.
Yeah.
When MacArthur got to the Philippines, the Japanese were pretty beat up, and he's like, "Wow." They did a number on the Japanese.
Yeah, the Bolo battalions for sure. No, I know.
I mean, close enough for a stick.
Yeah.
So, in the spirit of the whole drill, there was the initial strike and the block. 2 hits with the abanico corto.
Okay.
Then
now you're doing your long.
The first 2 are corto.
Yep.
Return. Then we get into the 3 high impact. 1, 2, 3.
Right.
The beautiful thing about this is whether it's Kali, Eskrima, Lightning Scientific, Balintawak, we all do it just a little bit different. I will share the drill. If you tweak it to fit what you're doing, good.
Good on you. Yeah.
Just like that, I want you to take this, and here's that connection I mentioned for you to you. This 1, 2, this abanico, after the initial blocking check, we have 1, 2. Well, in Balintawak, and I'm just starting to play a little bit with it under the Quintada guys, Bob Sullivan, Bobby Tabuada, Grandmaster Tabuada. Their number 1 is more almost like a punch. Here.
Okay.
But they don't extend their arm. 1 is semi-extended, 2 is extended.
Okay.
Boxing with a stick, literally. Bang, bang.
Yeah.
So you look at this first one, you take a freeze frame of this, it's no different than driving it here.
No, right. When you freeze frame it, correct.
Second one for us is this second strike.
There you go. Same thing when you freeze frame it. Yeah.
So depending on, your lineage or your discipline, it's very much the same.
No, so just for the viewers, and again, this is new to me too. So you got your shorter abanico, your longer one where you're making more extending, then your circular.
Irada.
Okay, and then your 4th is
double action.
Okay, and then pull and then rotate back, and then your last one is where you're adding the horizontal shot, taking the ankles.
Angle on the shoulder to hip, then the irada again.
Right, and then the back. Horizontal, right, for the ankles. Okay.
Add 1 strike, 5 strikes. Professor's many of his key phrases where you take this art and you make it your own.
Yeah, I like that. That's something that really resonates with me when they tell you, and make it your own. I dig that.
He didn't want.
Yeah.
He encouraged cross training. And at the end of all his sessions, he would say, "Thank you, I learned, you taught me." And we're like, what the hell is he talking about? He's the grandmaster. Yeah. He watched you. If he had any skills and you went to his seminar, he'd be watching you like a hawk. He wouldn't say anything. But if you start to deviate and do your own little thing, he's watching and don't think he's not.
Yeah. There might be something in,
he'll regurgitate it a year later. You just won't know it. It'd be like, hey, wait a minute, that looks familiar. Let's get you talking.
No, I really enjoyed that when they tell you make it your own. You know what I mean? Where you're not bound by this like that. I just can't. I mean, we're all individuals and we all have different attributes and strengths and weaknesses. For you to be robotic and just, so I always appreciated that when instructors would say that, I'm giving you this, but make your own, make it better for yourself, whatever you got to do. So that always jived with me. Yeah.
I got to meet Richard Bustillo twice.
Oh yeah, same here. Yeah.
I fought with him in 2010, and we started to play a little bit one-on-one. And his parries, his checking was palm down. And we had longer knives. We're just playing nice. And I went to check him, but I checked palm down. And I'll never forget, he says, don't do that. Now, 2010, so what are we talking? 30 years for me. I'm a rookie compared to him. And we kept doing the drill, and I kept doing what I was taught, palm down.
Palm down, yeah.
Says, I'm not kidding. He said, Brian, you do this, I will cut you in the puta. And I'm looking at my wife. I'm like, what did he just say? And she goes,
oh my God.
Spanish, right? Right? So he goes, why are you doing that? I said, because that's all the professor taught me. He goes, who? I said, Professor Presas. He goes, all right, let's do this. And we checked it. And he said, that's how he checks? I said, well, sir, he checks like a freight train. And I said, I'm not about to hit you because you're Sifu Richard Bustillo.
Yeah.
We won't check palm fingers down, even if it's at the waist, because he will hit what he called heavy-handed checking. And I bet if he's dropping this is coming up, and something bad is going to happen. But the difference between those two was fingers up, fingers down. And once he understood why I was doing that and who trained me, he says, you know what, we're going to work with that, and we'll both come out of it with something. Yeah,
he was, there's I could speak on him. My JKD lineage is actually through him. I got it through Chris Smith, but Chris Smith through him. So, I'm not claiming to know him as well as Chris Smith did. I'm not going to go there. But from the times I spent with him, very, very charismatic, very open, kind,
Yep. It was a major event in 2010, many instructors. My wife came for the weekend. It was in Florida at a gorgeous resort. She was in the room when I was teaching. He was watching. And she goes, hey, can we go to his, when he teaches on Sunday morning, can we go to his workout? And there's that Asian tractor beam, that charisma is getting reeled in. I said, this dude's going to cost me at least $50. Sure enough, at the end of his hour, zip, 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 opens up the suit. There's the t-shirts and the videos. And she goes, well, I want to get this. I'm like, sweetie, you going to watch those videos? She goes, well, they're probably really cool. Yeah, dude, I was out like $80 because of
Yeah. But here's the thing, though. You got to spend time, and she got to spend time with one of Bruce Lee's originals.
When they were,
so, you know what I mean? So what's the price tag on that? You know what I mean?
There isn't. There were so many breakout sessions. So many breakout sessions at the same time. Some rooms didn't have anybody. There were many. And who shows up to my class? Sifu. So I'm all warmed up. I got a light sweat going. He shows up. And I'm like, how's this going to work? I had him to myself for an hour.
Yeah.
And my wife was with me. And we leave. I said, do you know who that was? She goes, no. But he seems like a really cool guy. I said, that was an original student of Bruce Lee. She goes, what?
Yeah.
Then I started watching him for the rest of the weekend. Then we actually took his class together. And then when Chris had him up a few years later, we actually went together and went to see him in Waterbury. And
oh, good on you guys. Good.
Oh yeah. And with him, I guess if I remember correctly, a session of boxing, a session of stick, and a session of maybe grappling. What was the third one?
When I went to, because it's New Jersey, you had your boxing.
Yep.
Yeah. You had your stick, which is, and the curriculum is Dose Paris. Then you had your grappling, and then the fourth component. Oh my gosh! If you did the 2 days, God, where's Chris when you need him? Wait, John might have been could have been John Fun.
Okay.
Trapping could have been. Don't quote me on this guy, but definitely grappling. Oh, Thai.
Oh, really?
I either Thai or that. So you had your Dose Paris, you had the Dose Paris, you had the boxing, you had the grappling, and I think the fourth was sometimes Thai or on the trapping side, I believe. Yeah. Again, it's been some time, but he, now I'm gonna have to ask him that because this is gonna drive me nuts. Chris, 4 components.
There you go. Homework now. Oh, Chris. Yeah, but what a pleasure to have met him and to be able to take somebody that had been studying a different FMA for so long.
Yeah.
And to sit there and walk away with a very important piece of information.
Yeah, he got. I mean, with Kakoi, he got up to, gosh, obviously master level, but I want to say maybe 9th.
Really?
Again, Chris would have a better, but I think 9th stands out. But definitely got up there. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. But this was fantastic. I definitely gonna get you on again because one of the things we didn't get to, which I would like to do when we meet again, is really, and you alluded to it, where he actually came up with the system. What were the initial ingredients? How they transformed over years? What you know what I mean? Like that, I think would be another interesting dialogue just on that, like how it started, its transformation, and to where it is today. What do you think?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Keep with that said, keep in mind he spent a lot of time with Grandmaster Wally J, Small Circle Jiu-Jitsu, and George Dillman.
Those. So if I'm right, those are like the 3, huh? Like they would kind of
big 3. Now
it's like the Anasano, Leo Fong, and Ty. If you did those camps, you got those 3. So I'm gonna write this down. So but just
with Wally J.
Yeah.
Would not teach any of the Dillman stuff openly. He knew where to hit you, and he knew how to hit you.
But he just no kidding.
If you want to understand the pressure point, go see George. But there's a lot of small circle jiu-jitsu in Modern Arnis.
No, I'm sure just by his time spent and exposure with those guys. Yeah, right.
So, it was a constant state of evolving. But by all means, be more than happy to cover that with you some other time.
No, yeah, and then we get you doing another demo. Absolutely. And then what I'll do is, again, I want to email you that thing when this all blows over. One of the things I was thinking about, you can do it sound like get me, you, maybe you, Chris, somebody else, and I thought it'd be kind of neat to get all this in a room and each give an hour of our stuff to whoever, a group of people. You know what I mean?
I started thinking about this thing, an FMA summit, and that's exactly what it is. Just a bunch of us intentionally from different backgrounds.
Yeah.
Together, we each take an hour, whatever works. And
that'd be fantastic.
We do Connecticut. Maybe there's a gentleman, Steve Stapp, New York, New Jersey. He wants to do something. Grandmaster Richardson down in Virginia. I think we can cover the East Coast in no time. And maybe once every other year, we call everybody and say, hey, here's ground zero. Let's do this together.
Oh, I'm all for it. It'd be a nice, getting back into it when this all ends. You know what I mean?
Oh, there's no doubt. People are sitting there shaking. I'm tired of being
ready
for this to be over because she's like, I got to help you again.
I know. I'm like,
yeah, we'll get
but definitely what I'll do is I'll send you a reminder email, but I think that would be fantastic.
Good.
Well, hopefully one day, maybe, we'll absolutely get to meet in person, and I think that'd be a neat way to go about it. But it was an absolute pleasure having you on. I thank you for taking the time. I thoroughly enjoyed it. There's a lot of stuff, as far as historically speaking, and everything from him being a southpaw to all the other stuff and the camps and all that I learned, and fascinating that 81 and 14 years old. I mean, so it was very enjoyable. So I thank you for coming on.
Thank you very much for having me. And again, thank you for all you're doing and the exposure you're giving these guys and the connections that you're helping us make. I've reconnected with you.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's got to. We're getting killed by MMA and BJJ. Somebody's, man, we need. We're on life support.
Nah, we're good.
No, I'm just kidding. But hopefully this is gonna.
Yeah, it will.
Yeah, bring us. So what I do just to, I gotta take this. I download it, throw it on YouTube, and what I'll do is I'll send you the link
Oh,
And I
okay.
usually get it done by the same night, so then you can share it out. It'll be on FMA discussion, but I'll actually send it the video and direct link to your wall.
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no sweat. Yeah, yeah. Well, sir, again, thank you again for your time, and hopefully this ends soon, and we can get together in a room together.
Absolutely.
All right, my man. Well, thank you, sir,
Thank
and
you.
be in touch.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Good night.
Good night. Okay, that wraps up episode 24. That was a good one. Learned a lot of new stuff. So this Thursday, I'm gonna have somebody. I just gotta go look through my list and just see who's available, who's next in line, so to speak. We're definitely gonna be getting Tom Sotos on for the third one regarding his book. He's just kind of recovering from a neck / back ailments. But as soon as he gets done with that, I'm hoping we can get him next week. So this Thursday, I just got to see who's kind of in line. And then the following Thursday is going to be really good. It's going to be 3 guests. Again, where I did we did the test run with the 3 my 3 fellow Abonnier instructors in America, Cobb Marvin, Cobb Vaughn, and Joseph. So that's May 7th and all that. But stay tuned, and I'll be letting you know everybody shortly what's coming up either Thursday or the following Tuesday. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to hit like and subscribe to FMA Discussion YouTube. Take care.